I need all the wins, yeah. Ain't no L's, I gotta get a no call to quits, yeah. Gotta keep on moving no matter how hard it gets, yeah. Better move out the way, cause I'm coming with harder hits. My head is as hard as a brick, but I'm harder than all it is. You better move, you might get knocked out, knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out, knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out, knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out, knocked out. My heart on my sleeve, stress, shield my greed. That's how I get it, success ain't no giving. Some days I don't hit, I don't sleep. When I'm focused, I'm dangerous, down, wonder when I'm anxious. Ain't no limit till I tank, I'm running on fumes. The opposition don't amaze, the roads racing through the pavement. Get your hands out of my bag, I know that's because I've been in it. I don't need to brag, I guess that's what happens when you taking care of your business. But some family, you do the math, I'm out of my pocket. Houston, we got a problem, man, perfect, let them watch me. Elevating, got them nauseous, cause I'm the pilot in the cockpit. Nose diving in the house and woo. Watch how I get ahead, watch how I get ahead, watch how I get ahead.
It's time! Welcome to DFS by the Numbers with your host, Brady.
Better move, you might get knocked out, knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out, knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. These are my final thoughts for UFC Vegas 75. Really looking forward to doing kind of an early show here. Was able to watch the weigh-ins. Everybody weighed in. Everybody made weight as far as I'm concerned. So it worked out perfectly. A little bit early today, I am heading out to a wedding in like the middle of nowhere, which is going to be like a 3-hour drive. So I missed the fights last week, and there's a good chance I'll miss the fights this week unless there's some Wi-Fi, but not counting on it. But yeah, really good card this week. UFC Vegas 75 was supposed to be 14 fights. We lost the Hayani Barcelos Miles Johns fight, which I thought was going to be a very good fight. I wish they would have took off the Salikov fight instead, or maybe even the Bukauskas fight, but lost a really good fight there with the Barcelos fight. But still, 12 fights, 12 very good fights, and definitely looking forward to it. Lots of bets on this card. I have been away the last several days. I was on a cruise, terrible Wi-Fi, was not able to check any odds, watch any fights. It was pretty terrible, but luckily I was able to get in all the tape study like a week prior. So got back Wednesday, checked the odds, and put in quite a few bets. Lots of spots sticking out on this card, lots of violence sticking out on this card. Can't wait to break it down. Going to be kind of a shorter show today because I'm running extremely late. I have to leave here in about an hour, still have to shower, still have to eat. Have not done any of that. Got up and had to catch up on so much content that I missed out on. So, I say we hit up the chat here, and then let's get into some fights here. We got Uncle Weezy in here. My man is working early. Yep, getting it out early. Have to head out of here in about less than an hour. So, going to be an early stream here. Typically go live around 4, but luckily we were able to see everybody weigh in. That was good. We got Jeff in the chat saying, Oh yeah. If you guys missed Stat Diggers, inside joke there. We got Doug in the chat saying, Brady, let's go, Doug. We got Tony in the chat. Hey, Brady, congratulations on the baby, and hope you had fun on the cruise. Let's cash some tickets. Let's do it. That is the goal. We got Andres in the chat as well. Made it right on time, listening at work. Let's go. Thank you for hanging out. Andres, we got Ace of Spades saying, yo, what is up? We got Bias saying, I randomly showed up with a second to go. There you go. And then everybody hit the like. I agree. Hit the like, subscribe. Check out Underdog Fantasy. Use that promo code at DFS BTN. I'll touch on my favorite play later down in the show if I remember to do so, but get 100% deposit bonus using that code DFS BTN. All right, let's get right into it. We're going to start with the first fight of the night. Modestas Bukauskas going against Zach Pauga. Probably the worst fight on the card, and it's a reason it is so early down on the prelims. I've not been high on either of these guys at all. I did end up picking Zach Pauga with no confidence whatsoever. Just I feel like it's going to be a close, greasy fight that's going to go to decision. Bukauskas, I think he's probably the more skilled fighter, but Pauga a little bit more active on the feet, a little bit more volume. I think if there's any control against the cage, if there's any wrestling at all in this matchup, it's going to come from the Pauga side. Give me Pauga to win a greasy decision, but I just don't want to put any money on this fight. I was never really high on Zach Pauga, but I mean, going to decision with Jordan Wright, I mean, it's inexcusable. I mean, nobody goes to decision with Jordan Wright ever, but Zach Pauga did it. So congratulations, Zach Pauga. You went to decision with Jordan Wright. You're the only one to ever do so, and probably the only person to ever take Jordan Wright to a decision. Disgusting. But yeah, give me Zach Pauga for the dub. But I'm not betting this fight. Nothing's really sticking out. It's a fade on DraftKings. Both guys don't do anything. I don't see a finish here. Pretty easy fade for me on this one. Yeah, it could be 15 minutes of hugging, just like we saw in the right fight. I could definitely see Pauga holding, Bukowski's against the cage, being a very boring fight. And even at range, I don't see a ton going on. So terrible fight. Like I said, I might miss the fights, but even if I don't miss the fights, I'm probably not watching this one anyway. It's going to be a waste of time, to be honest. I'm not high on either of these guys, but give me Pauga to the win since I have to pick somebody to win. If I could pick both these guys to lose, I would, but I can't do that. Give me Pauga for the upset. Bottom of the barrel, greasy weight bout. Yeah, very, very greasy. Two guys that I'm not sure are UFC caliber, but we will see what happens there. Moving on to a much better fight. Ronnie Lawrence, Daniel Argetta here. We got Ronnie Lawrence, decent sized favorite. So I remember taping this fight last week and seeing that Ronnie Lawrence opened up like a massive favorite, like minus like 500 something, minus 550. And then money instantly came in on Argetta. And I thought over the week, money might keep coming in on Argetta. We might get close to a pick him for Ronnie Lawrence. That is not the case. He's now minus 190 at this point. I don't have much interest at all in Ronnie Lawrence. But I think he wins. I think it's a good spot to bounce back. I don't hold that loss against Sayudakab Kakhramonov against him. I think Kakhramonov is a very good fighter, and I think he gets back to his winning ways here. What I do like for this fight, though, is from a DraftKings perspective, it's Ronnie Lawrence. Probably my favorite play on the slate. It's very close between Ronnie Lawrence and Marvin Vettori. But Ronnie Lawrence, take a look at this guy's stats. Averaging 7 takedowns per 15 minutes with a 77% accuracy. And what's crazy about this is that includes the Kakhramonov fight where he got taken down like 10 times. I think he only got like 1 takedown in that fight. So that includes that fight, and he's still averaging 7 takedowns. If he wins this fight, which I do think he does, he's favored to, on DraftKings, I think he puts up a massive score. One of my favorite, if not my favorite, DraftKings play on the slate. So give me Ronnie Lawrence. From a betting perspective, I don't want to touch that money line. Minus 190, it's a tad wide for my liking going against another wrestler in Daniel Argetta. But if I was to bet this fight, it probably would be Ronnie Lawrence by decision. I don't see him finishing Daniel Argetta. And Ronnie Lawrence by decision is plus 140 on Bet365 Sportsbook. That's how I'd kind of look at it from a betting perspective. But no bets for me on these first 2 fights. But don't worry, I have a ton of bets on this card. Got Samuel in the chat. Happy Friday, Brady. Time to make some money this weekend. That is the goal. I'm feeling pretty good about this card. And should be a fun one as well. I think it's a very, very good fight night card, especially for being in the Apex. I'm looking forward to it. We got Matt saying pathetic UFC cut for Kakhramonov. Yeah, me and Weezy were talking about it a little bit. Not sure if it's because they don't think he's skilled. Like, I think something might have happened behind the scenes that we're not really hearing about potentially, because the cut just makes no sense. It makes no sense to cut Kakhramonov, who's a very, very good fighter. But let's keep moving on. We have Teresa Bleda going against Gabriela Hernandez. This is where it gets good from here on out. Quite a bit of action on this card, and a lot of that starts on this fight here. So I'll go through my bets. So my first bet I placed of the week, I think, was on Teresa Bleda, Gabriela Hernandez. Fight doesn't go the distance. 1 unit plus 150. I missed the under 2.5. Apparently opened up at like plus 200, which is a great line. Missed out on that. A lot of people on violence this week, and rightfully so. Here's why. We have a striker versus grappler matchup first and foremost, right? And Bleda is going to have a massive advantage in terms of the grappling, and Gabriela Hernandez is going to have a massive advantage in terms of the striking. So not only is this a striker versus grappler matchup, but both fighters are very strong, where their opponent is very weak. So on the mat, if Bleda gets on top, we saw Jazz the Vicious get in that crucifix position, almost finish Gabriela Hernandez. And I think if Bleda gets in that same position, it's a wrap. Bleda is very dangerous on top. Has some submissions, has really good ground and pound. If she gets on top of Hernandez, I think she finishes her. The problem with Bleda, and the reason I wouldn't lay like minus 225, although I think it's a great matchup, is I do have question marks about the gas tank. If she's not able to finish Hernandez, it could get bad. And on the feet, it's not even close. Like, Hernandez is a great striker. She has a ton of power. She hits like a truck, to be honest. But I think her takedown defense and her ground game is going to be her downfall in this matchup. But if it turns out that Hernandez is able to either A, survive, or B, keep this upright, Hernandez probably makes it look easy and knocks out Bleda. So my first bet, first and foremost, is that fight doesn't go to decision. 1 unit plus 150. And I also have a half unit on Bleda to win this fight inside the distance plus 235. And then I sprinkled the Hernandez knockout prop quarter unit plus 850. I was going to do the round 2 or round 3 sprinkle, but it could even be in round 1 if it turns out Bleda cannot get the fight down to the mat. So just give me the KO. I think it is probably late, but just in case, give me the KO. Plus 850 is a ridiculous number. And I think that KO prop opened up at like plus 1,400. I know Uncle Weezy got like a plus 1,400 on the Gabriela Fernandez knockout prop, which is ridiculous because that's literally how she wins. She's not going to sub-Leda. I don't think she's winning a decision. The knockout prop for Fernandez, if you like Fernandez, you got to love that knockout prop. So those are my 3 bets for this fight. Fight doesn't go. Blade inside the distance, and then Fernandez KO, all at good plus money here. Looking for some violence in this striker versus grappler matchup. From a DraftKings perspective, great fight to target. I think it's a great fight to target that's not going to have crazy ownership. You got Blade up there, very expensive, but I think she has a ton of upside. And then Fernandez is going to be pretty low owned. I'd say 6,700 with some knockout upside as well. So great fight to target on DraftKings. A fight that I'm really looking forward to. And I love these striker versus grappler matchups for sure. So love this fight, and it should be a good one. We got Uncle Weez saying, yep, KO Fernandez path here. Her stand-up is really clean and powerful. I was very impressed with her striking. It just sucks she can't stuff a takedown to save her life, and that's why she's a big dog here. But if it turns out this fight stays standing, she's going to probably knock off Bleda's head for sure. All right, let's keep moving on. We got Denise Bondar going against Carlos Hernandez. And yeah, interesting fight here from both a DraftKings and a betting perspective. So I taped this fight last week, and I figured that Bondar would open up a favorite, and he did. He opened up minus 200, which seems about right to me. Money instantly came in on Hernandez, and that line flipped. So apparently Bondar was sitting at like plus money on a couple books for a while. Obviously, I didn't have access to that plus money, or I would have took it. He's now currently sitting at like minus 130 ish, minus 135-ish, which kind of surprised me because I thought people might be a little bit lower on Bondar after that Malcolm Gordon fiasco there. But yeah, it's a fight where stylistically, I think it's a really, really good matchup for Bondar. He can wrestle, he can grapple. That's something that Carlos Hernandez has struggled with his entire career, getting taken down. He got submitted in his last fight, right? So I think, stylistically on paper, it's a great matchup for Bondar. It's just Bondar has not fought great competition, so it's hard to kind of gauge where this guy's at. Is he legit or not? The Malcolm Gordon fight, definitely not a good look. But you watch the guy's tape, and it looks like he has all the skills. It's just he's not fighting great competition whatsoever. So I'm not going to completely write off Bondar just yet, but my expectations for him are a lot lower than they first were. Like, I had high expectations for Bondar. This was a guy with a 100% finish rate in the flyweight division, 16 wins, all of them coming inside the distance. He can wrestle, he can grapple, he has good cardio, great finishing ability. I liked a lot what I saw from Bondar, but I'm going to take a step back a little bit. And I'm not, I mean, it's going to tell, I think this fight's going to tell us a lot. Is Denise Bondar legit, or is he a fraud? Is he a bum? It's going to tell us here, because this is on paper. It's a really, really winnable matchup for him. It's just, is he a fraud? We're going to have to find out. But I have 2 bets here. So the first bet is the fight doesn't go to decision. I mean, it seems like a good look on this fight. In a fight where Bondar has 20 fights, he's been to decision once out of those 20 fights, 19 finishes. A killer be killed fighter in Denise Bondar. Lots of question marks with the guy. What does he look like? Late, potential adrenaline dump as well against an actual fighter in Carlos Hernandez. I could see Denise Bondar early, Carlos Hernandez late type situation. And then on top of that, Denise Bondar being the favorite at minus 130, favored to win this fight. I'm not quite sure why his inside the distance prop is plus 300. Plus 300 for a guy with a 100% finish rate. If he wins this fight, it's safe to say it probably comes inside the distance. So I have 1 unit on the fight, doesn't go to decision, plus 130. I like that a lot. I think it covers a lot of outcomes there. Denise Bondar has been finished in 2 of his 3 losses, I believe. Yeah. No, 3 of his 4 losses he's been finished. Once by knockout, and then once by submission, maybe twice by submission, but he's been finished 3 times. And then Carlos Hernandez has been finished before as well. And then, like I said, Bondar has a 100% finish rate also. So love me some violence here. 1 unit on the fight doesn't go, plus 130, and then half a unit on just honestly a ridiculous prop here, plus 300 for Bondar inside the distance, which is kind of wild, because I think you're getting a guy with a 100% finish rate at plus 300, who is the favorite and expected to win this matchup according to the odds. So give me Bondar to get it done. On DraftKings, I like Bondar a lot. 7,900 here for the guy. He's a favorite at an underdog price on DraftKings, a 100% finish rate that can't be ignored, wrestling upside, submission upside. Bondar is going to be very popular this week, but rightfully so. In terms of Hernandez, I'm probably not going to have much. Really like the price tag on Bondar there. So should be a good fight here, but give me Bondar to get the win. Got Mark in the chat. What's up, Brady? What is up, Mark? How you doing? We got Parlay in the chat. I'm late, but I'm here. Let's make some money, boys. Let's do it. What is up, everybody? We got Silky B in the chat as well. Hello, everyone. Best of luck and skill to you all. Best of luck to you as well, Silky. Appreciate you all hanging out. If you guys have not already, smash that like button. Let's get those likes up. I'm going quickly here, going very fast. I am very behind. I got to leave in about 49 minutes. Still have not eaten lunch. Still have not showered and still have not packed, really. So going to try to get through. Oh, and I got to record another video. So I have so much stuff to do, and I have like no time to do it. So kind of going quickly here. Sorry about that, guys. All right, moving on. We got Christian Quinones going against Kung Ho Kong. Quinones, yeah, some money's coming in on Kong here. Quinones is a guy. This is a weird matchup for me because Quinones was a guy that coming into the UFC, I didn't think he was that great. You know, on the feet, he's very hittable. He's very reckless at times. On the mat, he makes a lot of mistakes. I've seen him slow down before. I've seen him give up position on the mat. You know, there's a lot of things I didn't really like about Quinones. But then again, he's only 27 years old. He's very young. You know, I'm watching these fights from years ago when he's very, very young. And he's making improvements, clearly. He went out there against Khalid Taha and really opened up my eyes. So I'm a lot higher on Quinones than I first was. But, you know, Kung Ho Kong is no joke. He's been in here for a while. But it seems like he's been fighting forever. You know, 35 years old, though. I like Quinones to get the job done. But, you know, I feel like, I don't know. I have a weird feeling about this fight. So I'm not going to touch it. But Quinones at minus 135 now is kind of interesting to me. I was taking a decent look at him around like the minus 150 range, but ended up passing. I kind of want to see more of this guy in the UFC. He looked great against Tafa, but I just need to see a little bit more. And I think this matchup is going to show me a little bit more about Christian Quinones. I think he has to go 3 rounds here against Kong, who has just next level durability. And we're going to find out a lot about his cardio, his grappling, I think, in this matchup. So it's just a fight where I want to sit back and just learn a little bit more about Christian Quinones. But he is the pick, but no bet here for me on this one. But a little bit tempted on the money line here, especially if it keeps getting closer to a pick 'em. I think it's a decent look, but I don't know. I guess I'm not completely sold on Christian Quinones at this point. He looked great in his last fight, but I'm not completely sold just yet. Need a couple more fights, or this fight at least, to learn a little bit more about him. From a DraftKings perspective, that's a lot for Quinones here in a fight where I don't think he gets a finish here. So I'm not going to have a ton of him. If anything, it's probably the dog here. Kong, 7,400. If he wins this fight, expect takedowns, grappling. Quinones has been finishing all 3 of his losses. So I'm kind of, more so dog or pass from a DraftKings perspective, but the pick outright is going to be Quinones by decision. All right, moving on. We have Alessandro Costa going against Jimmy Flick here. I have 2 bets on this one. So I have the fight, or the under 2.5 rounds in a parlay. I'll touch on the other parlay piece on the main card. And then I have 1.5 units on Alessandro Costa to win this fight inside the distance, minus 115. I think it's a very, very, very tough matchup for Jimmy Flick. I really question the cardio, the heart, the toughness, the durability. Does he want to be here? I question all those things about Jimmy Flick at this moment. He came into the UFC, made his debut, got the win, retired for like 2.5 years, came back, looked awful against Charles Johnson. Is he showing up for a paycheck? Potentially. And then in terms of like stylistically, this matchup sucks for him. Costa, very physically strong guy. I think his takedown defense is going to hold up. He's a BJJ black belt, incredible grappler, very, very good grappler, but we don't see it as of late. But you go back and watch some of this guy's fights a couple of years ago. His grappling is phenomenal. He looks like a wizard on the mat. Black belt in BJJ. So I think if he does get taken down, he'll be fine on the mat. And then what I think is going to give Flick a ton of problems is the power. This guy hits like an absolute truck for a flyweight. And Jimmy Flick, I think once he gets hit once clean, I think he's folding. I mean, this guy has quit in multiple fights. He's been finished a ton in his career. He has no cardio, no striking defense, no chin, no heart. I think it's a great matchup for Costa. I was potentially looking at like placing a massive bet on Costa on the money line. Didn't quite get to it. The money line kind of got away. I think he's around minus 280 right now, but I do like him inside the distance. I think he finishes Jimmy Flick. And I like the under 2.5 rounds as well. Jimmy Flick, a killer be killed fighter. I think it's Flick early, and I think it's Costa could be early as well. And I'm actually picking it to be early. I think it's early. I think it's late first round for Costa. So yeah, loving violence here from a DraftKings perspective. Costa 9,400, finish upside, early finish upside, knockout upside. And then Flick is a dart throw, 6,800. If he wins, it's probably a first round sub. But I just think it's going to be tough to go out there, take down Costa and sub him in the first couple minutes. I think it's going to be easier said than done there. So love some Costa this week. one of my favorite plays on the entire card. I have him inside the distance and like that under as well. Charles Johnson used Flick as a heavy bag in his last fight, like in Costa. Yeah, Charles Johnson's a great fighter, don't get me wrong, but Charles Johnson's not finishing like anybody ever. And he went out there and just starched Jimmy Flick. I mean, I think it's a great matchup for Costa. I'm a lot higher on Costa than a lot of people are. I like this guy a lot. BJJ black belt, hits like a truck. I think this guy's good. He's only 27 years old as well. Terrible matchup for Flick, in my opinion, but with a guy like Flick, he's always going to be live, at least in those first couple minutes. Costa KO1, that's the way I'm leaning as well. I did opt for the inside the distance rather than the knockout prop, which inside the distance I saw minus 115, and knockout prop was like plus 123, something like that. Costa actually has more submissions than knockouts. He's a BJJ black belt, and I could see a situation where Flick does shoot in for a sloppy takedown and gets his neck snatched up. Because, like I said, Costa, his grappling's no joke. So I'd be careful in terms of that. I would just go with the inside the distance if possible. But I do think it's probably knockout as well. All right, moving on. We have Muslim Salikov going against Nicholas Dalby. I mean, I don't have much to say on this fight. It's dog or pass just because Muslim Salikov, I've never been high on the guy. 39 years old, no cardio, no volume, an incredible striker, tons of power, but just doesn't throw a ton. I think Dalby's going to be the more active guy. I think Dalby's going to be able to hold Salikov against the cage, win minutes, controlling Salikov, but it's going to be a close fight. It's dog or pass. I just don't want to bet on this fight. The reason being is I always seem to get Salikov fights wrong because I always pick against him. The one time I did get it right, though, was against the Leech. I had a bet on the Leech as an underdog, and the Leech went out there and knocked him out. But I am typically picking against Salikov because I just don't like his style. I think he's, talented, but no cardio, no volume, no ground game. Just not a lot of things to like about Salikov, but he ends up getting the job done more often than not. He's had a very solid UFC run. So the pick's Dalby, but I don't like this fight from a betting perspective, nor a DraftKings perspective. Salikov, pretty easy fade here at 9,200, and I'm not even too interested in Dalby at 7,000 as well. So going to be fading this fight from both a betting and DraftKings perspective on this one. What's up, Dipset? How you doing? We got Charlie saying a fair. I might just do Costa round one inside the distance instead. Yeah, I mean, just in case, because I could see a situation where Costa does end up submitting Jimmy Flick. KO is more likely, but I wouldn't completely rule out the sub. All right, we'll keep moving on. We have Manuel Torres going against Nicholas Mota. And this is why I'm very upset that I was not around whenever these odds drop, because apparently the under 1.5 rounds for this fight opened up at plus 160. That's fine. It was only out for probably 10 minutes. I missed it. I would have missed it anyway. But then it went to like plus 105, which is ridiculous. And that was there for a couple hours, I think. And then it went to minus 110. And then it went to like minus 120, minus 130. I would have loved it at any of those lines. I ended up betting it anyway, although I missed the line by a ton because I like it a ton. The under 1.5 here, minus 150 for 1.5 units. And then I also have a parlay with the fight won't start round 3. So my parlay, and I believe it's my biggest play of the night. So I have 2.5 units on the Mota Torres fight won't start round 3, minus 250. Parlayed with the Flick Costa under 2.5 rounds, minus 230. That came out to plus 100 for 2.5 units. And I even think it's better now because I think the under in the Flick fight is now minus 220 on DraftKings. So I love that under for the Costa fight. And then I love the fight won't start round 3 for the Mota fight. Plus money parlay there for 2.5 units, my biggest play. And then, like I said, I also added 1.5 units on the under 1.5 rounds at minus 150. Manuel Torres, 15 fights. He's been to the second round only once in his entire career. And you can see why with the way this guy fights. This guy is going to bring chaos. Both guys have a ton of power, especially Mota. But both guys have a ton of power, a ton of finishing ability. Torres has some submission ability as well. And then both guys I don't think are durable at all, especially Mota. I really question the durability of Nicholas Mota. I don't think he has a great chin. I think Torres does have the better chin in this matchup. And in a fight where they are going to stand and bang, I lean with the better chin of Mota. But, I think somebody's getting served here and getting served pretty early. I mean, look at these finish rates between the two. Manuel Torres, 92% finish rate. Mota, 69% finish rate. All those by knockout. The guy hits like a truck. And then look at their losses. They have a combined 6 losses, all 6 of them coming inside the distance. Neither guy's ever lost a decision. And like I said, you can kind of see why with the way Torres does fight there. So love me some violence here. Under 1.5. Fight won't start round 3 in a parlay. And then on DraftKings, phenomenal fight to target. I think Mota's salary is pretty disrespectful in a fight where I honestly feel like it could probably go either way. All it's going to come down to he lands that big shot first. So Mota's definitely in play at this price tag, 7,300. And then Torres, 8,900 is absolutely in play as well, because if he wins this fight, it's safe to say it's probably in the first round. And he potentially has 60-second bonus upside as well. So great fight here on the main card. One of my favorite, if not my favorite fights on the card here. All right, couple more fights left. Going to try to get this done. I was hoping for 30 minutes, but that's not going to happen. We got Pat Sabatini going against Lucas Almeida. So yeah, I mean, I like the Almeida side here. And I like Pat Sabatini a lot, but in this matchup, we got a striker versus grappler matchup. It's all going to come down to, really, does Pat Sabatini get his way? And that's going to be a fight that takes place, against the cage, takes place on the mat. He's going to want to take down Lucas Almeida early and often. He's not going to want to strike with him at all. And if he does, he probably gets knocked out. We saw Pat Sabatini get dropped early on against Jamal Emmers, was getting pieced up until then. We saw him get starched by Damon Jackson early on, which, Damon Jackson's not really known for starching anybody in the first minute of a fight. And Lucas Almeida has a ton of power. He has a 100% finish rate, and he's a BJJ black belt for what it's worth, but he's going to want to keep this standing. And if he does keep it standing, and if this fight is at range for any point in time, could be even a couple minutes, I think Almeida is very, very live for a knockout. I think if Pat Sabatini wins this fight, which he definitely could, I think he's a phenomenal wrestler, grappler, good, solid cardio. I think he could potentially grind out Almeida for 3 rounds, but he has to fight a perfect fight, in my opinion. So I'm taking Almeida here. I like him by knockout. I like the finish only. I have 1 unit on that finish only at plus 112. And then I have a half a unit on the Almeida knockout prop at plus 420. That has moved a little bit, but which is wild because I think that's his path to victory. I don't see Almeida really subbing Pat Sabatini, maybe a club and sub potentially, but I think it's going to be a knockout. And then I don't see Almeida winning a decision really at all. 100% finish rate for Almeida. We've seen Pat Sabatini rocked and dropped a lot. We've seen him knocked out before as well. And I think Almeida is going to have his opportunity. So love that knockout prop at big plus money. And then love the finish only as well. If you like Pat Sabatini, I'd probably take a look at him by decision. I don't think he finishes Lucas Almeida in this matchup. He couldn't even finish, Tristan Connolly, guys like that. So give me Lucas Almeida for the upset win. On DraftKings, this price tag to me is just ridiculous in a fight that I think could really go either way. Does Pat Sabatini grind him out for 15 minutes, or does Almeida knock him out? I think there's 2 outcomes here. Almeida, 7,100 makes a lot of sense. Even Pat Sabatini, if he wins, you got to have some because he's going to wrestle, and put up a big score with the wrestling, the takedowns, control time, all that. So great fight to target on DraftKings, but the savings for Almeida is something that really sticks out this week. Does Sabatini get stupefied again? Can't trust Sabatini ever again. Yeah, getting knocked out by Damon Jackson, not the best look in the world. Sorry if I'm late, but 84% in Tapology for Duncan. Thoughts on that fight? We're going to be talking about that very next fight there. All right. Let's see. We have Christian Liver Duncan going against Armin Petrosian. Yeah, speaking of that fight, I like Duncan here. Duncan's going to have an 8-inch reach advantage first and foremost. I like that. I think Duncan's going to be landing the harder shots. If there's a finish in this fight, I do think it's from the Duncan side. I was potentially looking at the finish only for Duncan, but it's like minus 300 on some books, so that's not happening. But what I do like is the knockout prop for Christian Duncan. We've seen Petrosian knocked out before. We've seen him knocked out in the first round of a fight. And I think Duncan's going to have plenty of opportunities here. Like you look really in both guys' fights, when they're fighting their opponents, they're getting taken down. Their opponents don't want to strike with them. They're going to get a striking fight here. I think this fight primarily plays out on the feet. Duncan probably can get a takedown if he wants to, but I think it primarily stays standing. And when it does, Petrosian's going to have the volume. Duncan is going to have the power, the finishing upside. I like Duncan to catch Petrosian at some point in this fight. But if it does go to decision, I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be greasy. I think Petrosian's going to land more volume. Duncan to have bigger moments. And I think it could really go either way at that point. But give me Duncan by knockout here. And I do have a half unit shot on him by knockout at plus 225 here. I think he knocks out Petrosian in this one. Don't hate the inside the distance as well, but I do lean knockout very strongly there. As far as DK goes, I'm not really touching Petrosian. I don't think he has much finishing upside. I don't think he has any grappling upside. I think if he wins, it's going to be a decision. Lots of volume, but I still think there's better options, especially cheaper than him as well. So I'm not getting too much Petrosian. Duncan, I think, has finishing upside. I like that. I think he has sneaky grappling upside as well. So like me some Duncan on a DraftKings perspective, and then the knockout prop as well. All right, 2 more fights, and then I got to head out of here, guys. We got Armin Tsarukyan going against Joaquim Silva. Sarukian, big favorite, minus 1,000. I've been saying it all week. I don't know why or who sanctioned this fight. I mean, it's not good. Sarukian should go out there and destroy Joaquim Silva. Not really sure why this fight's happening, why Silva even took the fight, other than getting a nice paycheck here. But this should be Sarukian all day. Sarukian should be fighting a top 10 guy, not Joaquim Silva. I have 3 bets on this fight. The first bet is the knockout prop for Sarukian, 1.25 units at minus 125 to win a unit. I think Sarukian knocks him out at some point in this fight. And then I also saw these on FanDuel Sportsbook. They have the round 2 and round 3 props for Sarukian. So they're actually favoring Sarukian to win in round 1, which it could happen for sure. It's just Sarukian is not typically a finisher. He has 2 finishes inside the UFC, once in the first round, once in the second. But I kind of feel like, I don't know if he's going to take his time, but I kind of feel like Silva can hang in there a little bit. Silva, black belt in BJJ. Silva, somewhat durable, I guess you could say. But I think it's going to take him a little bit to finish this fight. I'm kind of leaning second, third round. And these second and third round props are decently priced. Plus 470 for Sarukian in round 2. And then plus 1,300 for Sarukian in round 3. I have a quarter unit sprinkled on those. I also don't hate like a fight starts round 2. I think it's plus money, which is just wild for a guy. And again, Arman Sarukian, who's not really the best finisher in the world, only a 63% finish rate. So I don't hate that. But yeah, quarter unit sprinkles on the second and third round props. And then first and foremost, Sarukian KO minus 125, 1.25 units. It gets kind of crazy with the DraftKings perspective, right? 9,800. I really struggled getting Sarukian into lineups. I could not even fit him into my cash lineup. And then I also struggled to get him into even tournament lineups. So it's tough to get him in there, but I think he obviously wins. He obviously scores well. If you can fit him in cash, He's pretty much, I don't say this often, but he's pretty much a free square. I think he scores well. But in terms of fitting him in lineups this week, I did struggle, especially with only a 12-fight slate now. Silva first round KO, that would be wild. Yeah, what is Silva first round KO? Probably something like astronomical. Silva by first round knockout is plus 4,000 on Bet365. Who do you see Sarukian fighting next? Hopefully somebody in the top 10. Hopefully not somebody, random like Joaquim Silva. Just did not make any sense there. All right. All right. Last fight, guys. Marvin Vettori going against Cannonier. I don't have much to say on this one. I'm actually looking forward to a lot more fights in the main event. But yeah, I think it goes 25 minutes. I like this fight from a DraftKings perspective. I'm very high on Marvin Vettori. I like this underdog price tag on DraftKings at 8K. When you take a look at Marvin Vettori across 5 rounds, he typically scores in like the 120s. I think he's had 4 5-round fights, all of them scoring in the 120s. And I think there's no difference here. If he wins this fight, expect a ton of volume, expect some takedowns, and expect a massive score on DK. So for that reason, I love Vettori on DraftKings. But even if Cannonier wins this fight, expect a lot of volume across 25 minutes. I don't think he has the same ceiling or really anywhere close to it as Vettori. But if Cannonier wins, I still think he pays off his price tag. I'm a lot higher on Vettori this week due to the price tag, due to the upside. But I do have some Cannonier as well. So for DraftKings, I'm almost 100%, not 100%, but almost 100% owned on this fight. From a betting perspective, nothing's really sticking out. I think the overs are fine to potentially parlay, but they're juiced a lot. But other than that, nothing really sticking out here. I lean Vettori ever so slightly, but I feel like if he can't get the takedowns, it's going to be a very, very close fight. So I think it's going to be a close one, competitive fight, goes the distance. And then at that point, you have to trust the judges, which is terrifying and not something I really want to do, especially late chalk on. So the pick's Vettori by decision, but I think it could get greasy, especially with these terrible judges. The over looks good. Marvin has no power and a head like a fire hydrant. Agree 100%. That's why these overs are so juiced here. We got Cole in the chat. What's up, Brady? Always nice to catch you live. Yeah, I'm about to head out. Quick show. I have like a 3-hour drive to the middle of nowhere going to a wedding this weekend. We got Clint in the chat saying Vettori season. Yeah, man. I swear I saw Vettori go to like, people were like getting him at like minus 105, minus 110. I was not able to get any of those lines, but he's now minus 130. If Vettori got to like plus money, that would be wild and something I would have liked. Even like a pick him for Vettori, I probably would have hopped on that. But now minus 130, not too excited about that, but I think he does go out there and win. Vettori will throw 1-2s for 25 minutes, and Cannonier will stand there and heavy breathe. Yeah, he does do that, but his cardio is solid, but he does do the heavy breathing. Maybe throw a hook or two. Yeah, I think volume's in the edge of Vettori, but the power is in the edge of Cannonier. I'm not going hard on Vettori till I see the face-offs. You will see those in about 9 minutes. Shame on the Carnival Cruise Wi-Fi. Shame, yeah, man. Could not watch any videos. Could not check any odds. It was rough. It was rough in that aspect. Cannonier is hard to read. He has a resting face. Yeah, he definitely does. But all right, guys, I'm going to head out of here. Sorry for the short show. We'll be back to a normal schedule next week. No more weddings. No more crew. Actually, I do have a wedding in August. But for the next couple of weeks, normal schedule. No more weddings, no more cruises until late August there. I'm going to be getting out my main card prediction on either Sunday or Monday, and then prediction video will be out either Monday or Tuesday. A little bit behind, but was able to get everything in for this week, which is nice, and I will be able to kind of relax tomorrow and get right back after it on a Sunday there. Best of luck, everybody. Betting breakdown video will be dropping in about the next 20 to 30 minutes, so be on the lookout for that. And no best bet this week. We'll be right back with best bet next week on Saturday. Good luck, everybody. We'll talk to you soon, and let's make some money for UFC Vegas 75. See you later.